Hopefully they won't edit this video too much. Hopefully they don't put red on my lips and stuff like that, because I want this to be the go-to video for discussions of delusions of grandeur. First of all, when someone is said to have delusions of grandeur, it has to be quantifiable and directly understandable. Okay, so when someone says that they're Napoleon or something, you say that person's deluded. Somebody's homeless and says he's the president, we say that person has delusions of grandeur. When somebody says that they're the Christ and they're the top martial artist and they have an up to 9-year martial art challenge, okay, up to $4 million, okay, excuse me, it's over 8 years, up to $4 million, you can't say that person has delusions of grandeur, okay, because it has to do with interpretations of the Bible. In Exodus 15:3, it says, the Lord is aware, the Lord is his name. So immediately you have to say, this is something that the martial artist, the monotheistic martial artist in his true form is an expert on. And some people will argue what the true form is. But no one can logically and universally argue that someone with a universal martial art challenge with sparring is. Every honorable martial artist is willing to compete in sparring. Okay? They're not willing to compete in cage fighting. Cage fighting does not show transferable skills for actual weapons-based combat, which is what martial arts for, you know, swords and knives and sticks and so on and so forth. But sparring does. That's why sparring is used by so many systems. It's even used by UFC fighters to some degree. Okay, so let's look at who has delusions of grandeur, and obviously so. If it's not a universal standard, it's delusions of grandeur. If you're the head emo of your group and you think that you're more important than everyone else on the planet, you have delusions of grandeur. If you are the head person from an ethnic group, and that's the only claim you have delusions of grandeur. If you're leveraging white privilege, white fragility, white denial, etc., and you argue that you're the most educated person and from very scientific stock, if you will, genetically, and that you're superior, you have delusions of grandeur. Like a rich kind of English person from a scientific lodge, what is the essence of white privilege if not social clubs? Again, I tell you, what is the essence of white privilege if not social clubs? So these people have delusions of grandeur. Celebrities, right? You're just a celebrity. What the hell, right? You're not moral. You're not decent. You're not a valid moral model. You're a celebrity. You're a propaganda tool. Delusions of grandeur is what they have. Politicians have delusions of grandeur. The empowerment movement, witches, light workers, empaths, gypsies, etc. Okay? They have delusions of grandeur in terms of using a universal scale, in terms of a clinical diagnosis, because, you know, they're on the fence basically because what we're looking at, there's a common sense standard, but we can't definitively prove scientifically that they're wrong, and there's groupies encouraging them. Okay, but we can logically prove, those of us with sense, that they're wrong, and those who are logical people will not follow them. Okay, so people who say that they are aliens from Anunnaki, from Nibiru, etc., they have delusions of grandeur. Okay. This is different from the top martial artist saying that through focused moral intensity, as the son of 2 doctors, one a brain surgeon who came here as a refugee and worked his way up in Detroit when it was the murder capital of the country. Okay. Before tech, breeding, and ill-gotten gains ruin everything after I die. You know, my challenge is the last valid challenge, and it doesn't take a scientist or a computer scientist or IT professional to tell you, or someone who studied the philosophy behind integrated martial sciences, martial artists that use sciences as part of their stated arguments, like in Santa Cruz. Okay, they have an integrated martial science place there, I believe. It's Santa Cruz or Capitola, something like that. Okay, it is clear cut, okay, that the interference of performance-enhancing drugs and technologies has ruined martial arts with the overwhelmingly obvious willingness for the state to lie. It just takes one quick Google search to understand how many college athletes use performance-enhancing drugs. Now think about how people come together as groups to sell an idea that isn't true, like politicians and political groups and religious groups and so on and so forth. So it is clear-cut that I do not have delusions of grandeur. There's not a speck of evidence to that effect. But the people who have hired people to accuse me of that and troll me obviously are arrogant. White racists, Zionists, crazed LGBT theater arts, San Francisco theater, Hollywood kind of people. They have extreme delusions of grandeur. And they think that it is okay to support their image, you know, their narcissistic image, which is a joke, okay? They think it's okay to persecute who is logically the most righteous person that ever lived when we consider why the sun is hotter than the average fire, for example. Okay, focused moral intensity is greater than just kind of being moral or just being moral. So because I've achieved focused moral intensity, right, a state of being, therefore I've achieved a higher righteous state of being. Therefore, since I'm the top martial artist ever, logically, okay, when we consider evolution, when we consider movement, when we consider anatomy and so on and so forth, and body mechanics, when we consider stated argument, we consider cause and effect, the highest cause and the effect, when we consider everything logically, and we look at history, we look at the different races and ethnic groups, it is clear cut that I'm the top martial artist ever. Okay? The odds of there seeing somebody in history before, which is what would it take, because after there's no valid competition after I'm gone, the odds that someone before was a better martial artist than I am, okay, is like the odds that there was a person before who was a glowing green alien that could fucking fly. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's so extremely unlikely that it is insane not to consider me the top martial artist ever possible, okay? Look at the sound arguments. Write down my key points, and I'd love to hear your argument as to why I have delusions of grandeur. I do not. Also, really quickly, when we see sorority chicks and how sororities and fraternities are considered about the average in society, a lot of people go to college, a lot of people graduate college, etc. And they seem like the typical college people plus a little bit more social norm fanaticism. It is clear cut that other people are in no position, including psychiatrists and psychologists who are often members of these sororities and fraternities themselves. They're in no position to judge me. I'm the top martial artist ever, the son of 2 doctors, one the most moral brain surgeon of his generation. You are just a dime a dozen psychologist or psychiatrist or person in a frat. When I think about people who are less mature when they're 35 and 40 and their whole life than I was in 6th grade, and I can show you pictures and we can compare them side to side, and you'll see that when I was a freshman in high school, for example, or in junior high, okay, I was more mature than they were in college. They're doing immature, sissy activities that I saw as far beneath me when I was 10 years old, 8 years old, etc. There's no excuse for it.